Sir Henry Littlejohn, chair of. Sorry, that's such a funny name.
I was waiting for you to say something. Henry Littlejohn. Are you thinking Little John like Robin Hood, or are you thinking Little John the rapper? What is making you laugh? Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just picturing like a miniature man.
Just picturing a literal Little John. This dude named John, here he is. Super tiny.
Anyway, this man, he was very well known. He was the chair of medical. Oh my god, there's so many big words.
He was the chair of medical jurisprudence at the University of Edinburgh Medical School. Little John, everybody. Little John was the chair of medical jurisprudence at the University of Edinburgh.
He is so good.
Write that down.
Yeah, don't you forget it.
Don't you forget it. Don't you forget Little John.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to perform an autopsy?
Ever wanted to know how accurate your favorite crime drama is?
If you're brave enough,
Join us inside the morgue. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Inside the Morgue. We are your pathology duo and your favorite podcast hosts, Jess and Alice. This week, we're getting a little bit out of our wheelhouse, but not really, because we're talking about a show that isn't really a forensic crime drama, but it stars a personal favorite of ours, Morris Chestnut. You may know him as Rosewood, or in this show, he plays the titular Watson. So we watched the first episode just because we saw a commercial for this at the same time, and we texted each other like, oh my God, we have to watch this show. Rosewood's in it. So we had to, and we're going to chat with you about it and get a little bit into the history of Sherlock Holmes and his best pal Watson. But before we get into that, Dylan, if anybody else out there wants to have a podcast with you, where can they find you?
Well, anybody else out there, all you got to do is email me, dylan@youngjunk.com, and I will give you all the information you would ever need to start a podcast with us here at Young Junk.
Yeah, what he's going to do. All right. So you ready?
Let's get into it. So we meet John Watson as he's running to Sherlock Holmes to try to like rescue him in the woods, and both men.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh no, keep going. Both men wind up. Yeah. Sorry.
Both men wind up in a river that then dumps them into a waterfall. And it's like the funniest scene, just his little body rolling down a waterfall.
The opening of this scene, it opens, I think, on a deer in the woods. And it's literally reminds me of the opening of Twilight, if you've seen it. It's like the peaceful deer and then someone sprinting through the woods to attack. It's Edward Cullen coming to eat the deer.
It all comes back to Twilight.
It always does for me. But it literally, though, side by side, somebody has to watch it side by side and like vouch for me on this, because it was shot for shot. I was like, this is the intro. This is the opening of Twilight. I'm hooked. I am in. Whatever the show is about.
We're hooked already.
Yeah.
The first 2 minutes. So then he wakes up in a hospital with his head bandaged and a man named Shinwell Johnson telling him that he had a traumatic brain injury. And he's like, wait, where's Holmes? And then Watson, they're like going back and forth a little bit here. And Shinwell gently tells him that while 3 men, himself, Holmes, and James Moriarty, aka the man that they were all chasing in the woods, they went over the waterfall and only one person survives, and that was Watson.
Mm-hmm. No, 2 people survived. 1 person didn't. He said 2 people survived. You and Moriarty. Holmes
right.
didn't make it. Yeah, because he says Moriarty is still out there. Yeah.
And he was like, oh, well, Holmes was the best friend I ever had, and blah blah blah.
Blah blah blah. If you give my eulogy, can that? She was
to Muppet
one of my
Alice.
best friends, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, here's a Muppet.
I'm going to go watch Twilight now.
I'm going to go watch Twilight in her honor. Bye.
Yeah, I'll do that for you. No worries.
Thank you.
So Shinwell reassures him, like he's very upset, Watson is, that he's promising that they'll properly memorialize this man. And while they're on that topic, despite living a rather simple life, he was like, didn't you know that Holmes was loaded? and
Casual.
just casually dropping that bomb. So Sherlock Holmes was financially planning to fund a clinic for Watson to run and for Shinwell to assist with all of that. So what a great best friend that is, to basically just build this whole business for your friend.
Yeah. Sorry, I won't be able to do that. If I just
You're going to be a Muppet.
Don't get your hopes up. You're getting the Muppet. I'm leaving you the Muppet. You have to, at my funeral where there's a Muppet version of me, at the end, you just have to pick it up and take it home. That's what I'm giving you, is me as a Muppet.
That's the best gift anyone has ever thought of. So anyway, 6 months later, Watson has established a very well-renowned diagnostic medical clinic in Pittsburgh, PA. He's doing very well mentally and physically. And though the details about Moriarty and the weeks before the accident are still a little blurry, he can recall that Moriarty has fused fingers, which is very
make the
detailed.
Shape of an M.
Make the shape of an M.
Like his last name.
And the girl he was telling this to was like, his name is Moriarty and his fingers are shaped like an M.
She was like, this sounds fictional.
She was like, this sounds so made up.
She should have looked at the camera and be like, this sounds fake. Turns into camera.
The Office stare.
Yeah. Jim Halpert look, yeah.
So then cut to a whole different scene next. There's a very young woman, and her name is Erica. She's pregnant, and she rushes out of her ultrasound appointment when she starts to see like the faces of the people helping her in the clinic kind of like being distorted and looking like melty.
Oh, yeah, it was freaky.
And it's like really unsettling, and she gets unsettled by this. And so then she leaves the building, she runs into traffic, and then she gets hit by a car, but very lightly. She didn't like get run over. She
Yeah, the car was like
over.
stopping, just not in time. Yeah.
So Erica is brought to Dr. Watson's attention at the facility's medical director, who is also his ex-wife, Dr. Mary Morse. They learn that she hadn't slept in several days, and as Watson takes Erica's medical history himself, he takes pride in all of this.
Yeah, he doesn't want Mary to say anything. She's about to give him like the full story. He's like, nope, I'm going to learn it from the patient.
I'm going to need to hear it for myself. Yeah. So we learn that he's a clinical geneticist and internist. And she tells him that fatal familial insomnia runs in the family, and that while she fears she's going to die, she says that she doesn't want her baby to die too. So she's like, you have to keep me alive so I can deliver my baby girl safely.
So fatal familial insomnia, or as they call it a lot in the show, FFI, is a rare inherited neurodegenerative disease characterized by progressive and fatal insomnia, because sleep is important, people. You will die if you don't get enough sleep. So the symptoms typically manifest in middle age, and they can worsen over time. So early symptoms can be difficulty falling or staying asleep, very vivid dreams, muscle twitching or spasms, anxiety and agitation, cognitive decline like memory loss or difficulty staying focused. And progressive symptoms can be like a complete inability to sleep, hallucinating, autonomic dysfunction like increased heart rate, high blood pressure, sweating a lot. Movement disorders can also occur like tremors, and confusion and disorientation, weight loss, and delirium can also be a side effect of FFI. So as FFI progresses, individuals become increasingly debilitated and will eventually die because of all these complications and sleep deprivation. So it does not sound like a good time. And I'd never heard of this. I knew I knew like not getting sleep could kill you, but I didn't know that it was like it had a genetic component potentially.
Yeah, I didn't know that this was something that you could be diagnosed with.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it until the show. So Watson quickly consults his team, which is comprised of Dr. Sasha Lubbock, twin brothers, Dr. Stevens and Dr. Adam Croft, who I just found out before this recording is played by the same dude. He pulls a Lindsay Lohan. I'm a little disappointed, like I was when I found out Lindsay Lohan wasn't a twin in the Parent
Two people.
I fully thought Lindsay Lohan was a twin, like for way too long. Like few years I was convinced she had a sister that we just never saw. It's like, look how her sister was just in that one movie. Nope. There was no sister. And there's also Dr. Ingrid Darien. And Dr. Ingrid Darien is also his neurologist. And that's like a point of contention throughout the episode is she's trying to stop being his neurologist because she's also working for him, but he's like adamant about keeping her as his neurologist. So they figure out that there's not a strong genetic argument for Erica having FFI, and that it's likely that her belief is that it runs in the family is causing an ongoing anxiety. So there's no test for FFI, but Watson and his team decide to lie to Erica and say that they're using like some new cutting edge technology to be able to genetically test for it and determine that she does not have the disorder. So they figured out that her dad, who she thinks had FFI, he thought he had FFI. And when he thought he started having some symptoms that he thought were FFI, he died by suicide before ever determining if he really had the disorder. So there's no hard cut proof that it's genetic.
They also thought that the grandfather had it too.
Yeah.
And it just kept getting passed down by the father.
Yeah. So Watson's like, we could lie to her and say that we know she doesn't have it and see if that makes her feel better. And if she falls asleep, then we know she doesn't have it. So when Mary gets wind of the deception, she rushes down to confront Watson about this and winds up overhearing Erica and Watson talking. And he's telling her how his desire to go on one more case with Sherlock is kind of what ruined their marriage. It's basically what ruined their marriage because Mary saw it as him choosing Sherlock over her when he just saw it as like, oh, I just got to do one more case. And he does say that he regrets it. And as he's talking, Erica falls asleep. So that's a win for Erica and the medical team who decided to lie to her. Because I was thinking about that. I was like, how shitty.
So unethical.
How shitty would it have been if they lied to her and they ended up being wrong and she did have it?
I think I'm with Mary. Like, they should not have done it.
It was really, really taking a gamble there. So that doesn't, like, even though it did prove that Erica didn't have FFI and she did end up getting some rest, it doesn't make Mary feel better. She's still very angry, and they exit the room. So he makes it clear that while he's sorry about a lot of the choices he made, he's not sorry for lying to Erica. And the next morning, Erica wakes up, but she is blind and she can't smile. She has like sores in the corners of her mouth and it hurts her to smile. Soon, Erica's cousin, Autumn, who we met when they were, some of the doctors went to go talk to Autumn and Erica's mother just to get a little bit clearer picture of a genetic background to see if FFI actually ran in the family. And so that's how Erica knows them. And Erica shows up and she's sick and she noticed that she had the same symptoms as Erica. So Autumn is now worried that she has the same illness that Erica has. So Watson guesses that both women have songbird fever because he does make the doctors do detective work, which is, I guess that's a theme in all shows, not just crime drama shows. Like, this isn't the doctor's job. And even the doctors say that. They're like,
certainly not a geneticist.
They're like, the doctors are like, we're not detectives. Why are you making us go out in the field and search through this woman's garbage? Like,
yeah, like they're at her house going through all of her trash and like just rummaging through everything.
Yeah, and they find dead birds and like 2 dead birds in the trash.
They're like texting. I would keep wanting to call him Rosewood now, but he's not Rosewood anymore.
Watson.
They're like texting Watson and be like, "Hey, like I found this. I found a dead bird." And like two pictures later, I found another dead bird. And he's like, "Oh, ding ding ding, that's it.
Dead bird.
Dead bird."
Weirdest group chat ever. So Watson believes that both women have something called songbird fever from handling dead birds that were killed by Erica's cat. So songbird fever is they explain it in the show, it's a type of salmonella that comes from birds and can be passed on through humans either by handling birds that have it, or like if you don't cook if you're eating any kind of poultry, you don't cook it well enough and that bird had songbird fever. So it can get to you that way. So that's why they think, oh, Erica's cat was bringing all these dead birds home apparently, and everybody was touching them and throwing them away. But Mary stops by later to say that Autumn tested positive for songbird fever, but Erica didn't. And what's worse, the version or the genetic variant of the fever that Autumn has is resistant to antibiotics, which is no good because now Autumn is starting to go into septic shock.
So as Watson observes the woman, he realizes that they both have webbing between some of their toes, and he uses this as a clue. And another trait that he's like, oh, they also have really wide set eyes, which is weird for them being cousins, because that's more of like a more similar trait between like siblings or something. So he's a super good doctor, as we know. And he's like, hey, like, gonna bring this up to my team. So his team, they realize that Erica and Autumn are actually half sisters who share the same biotinidase deficiency, which is it's like a long diagnosis. Made sure it's like a simple. If they take like this little supplement, it will
Yeah, they just take
fix them.
biotin.
Yeah,
He's like, yeah, just take more biotin.
take a daily supplement. He's like, you can get this like at Walmart.
Yeah, he's like over the counter biotin. Like, damn.
Unless they're Erica, who is foaming at the mouth and convulsing in her bed next to.
That was. Wait, Autumn's the cousin.
Oh
right?
no, Autumn was.
Autumn
was
was-
foaming at the mouth,
Yeah.
and she was having
Erica
convulsions in the
went
bed
blind.
next to Erica.
They're both a mess, and they're both like
Yes.
staying in the same room. But yeah, Erica started convulsing and foaming at the mouth. Or no, Autumn. Oh my god,
Autumn.
Autumn, not
Too many
Erica.
names.
Erica's
So-
blind.
Autumn has abscesses near her liver,
No,
and since
Autumn.
what did I say?
We're so good at this. Autumn. Autumn is the
Autumn.
one that's dying right now. Erica's been
Autumn's
cured.
dying.
Erica's been cured. Autumn now has sepsis.
I'm so sorry for everybody listening. Autumn has abscesses near her liver, and since the resident surgeon can't get to the hospital because of some like bad storm happening, Mary steps in to perform this operation for her, and everyone is saved. Yay!
Yeah. They just show Mary
She's like,
stepping.
"Oh, I haven't done this in so long."
She's
and
just
they're
like 4 years. She
the
has
scrub tech is like, "Oh, I got you."
puts on her playlist, which I love that they had that detail of people listening to music while doing surgery.
So then at the end of the episode, Watson comes in to get the remaining belongings from Mary's place and basically surmises that she's seeing somebody.
With all of his
Um,
deductive reasoning.
Yeah, he's such a good little detective.
He gets all deductive
like,
about
the
it.
coat, He's like, the coat hanger is clean, and this side of the garage is clean.
He's like, this side you already had cleared out, as if you were waiting for somebody else's car to be parked here. And the coat hanger there's nothing on the coat hanger at all. Like somebody had just left. I was like, I would not.
That would have gone right over my head because I don't look at details like that. But I'm not Watson.
I do sometimes, but see, when I do it, I'm crazy and I'm overthinking things. When he does it,
No,
wow,
don't tell yourself
super genius
that.
detective.
You have valid thoughts. So she's like, is it anybody I know? And she's like, no, you never met her. Ooh.
Yeah.
But she's got bigger stuff to tell him. He's a better doctor for spending times with Holmes. But she's like, the old us is not coming back, so like we have to move on.
Mhm.
And then elsewhere, Shinwell is riding one of Pittsburgh's funiculars.
I had no idea
What's a funicular?
these were a thing.
Like
It
a
was
taxi?
It was like the ride they were taking like up the hill, and it was like I had
like a
no
ski
idea that was a
lift.
thing. No idea that was a thing. I was like, what are they in? Like they just threw that in there like it was something we should know. And I'm like,
Well, we are going to Pittsburgh soon, so maybe we'll see it.
we go to Pittsburgh and we get a chance to go on one of these. We have to. I don't know if we'll have time. We're gonna be swamped with classes. But
I know. It'll be okay. We'll check it out if we can. But
before
then,
we
like, this
leave,
man...
we're like, we have to find one of these things.
Funiculars.
Do you have a funicular, please?
They're gonna be like, what are you talking about? So then like this man starts talking to him and he's like shrugging it off at first, but when the man starts talking about how vulnerable the city is, Shinwell pays a little more attention, and this man is Moriarty, the man that they were chasing in the woods in the very beginning. And Shinwell's like, well, I was expecting somebody else. And then he drops a case at Moriarty's feet and he's like, there you go, these are the samples you wanted. And Moriarty opens the case and we see fused fingers, just like Watson had said in his
Mhm.
recollection. And Moriarty's like, I'm watching. always and everywhere.
And
it seems like he has like surveillance systems around. So
yeah, always and everywhere was the name of the surveillance company on his shirt. And I just want to say, I want to make sure I get his name right. The actor who plays Moriarty. I think it's Ralph Park. Is that his name?
I honestly know no actors besides Rosewood.
I'm gonna. All right, we can move on, and I will look it up later. So,
It's like they did talk about like a lot of genetics in this episode and like different like medical terms that they mentioned
and how things were recessive versus dominant.
Yeah, they had like basically a whole family tree of like Erica and Autumn, and they were like, well, because the parents had this gets passed down, but they didn't have it, so it's recessive, so it skips, and like they had it color coded, and it was actually really cool.
One of my favorite things to do in college was I loved Punnett squares.
I was just gonna say Punnett squares are where it's at.
I loved Punnett squares when I was in genetics.
It was so much fun.
Let me draw a Punnett square and figure it out. The percentage of like dominant, recessive, heterozygous, homozygous. Like I was all about that. I loved my genetics class just for that.
It was so much. It was so easy and it was so much fun.
It was just so.
I was in college and I was like, this is difficult.
You're like, I don't want to draw a square.
I don't want to be a geneticist.
I don't want to be a geneticist. I used to think I wanted to because I went into like cellular.
You did micro.
Yeah, I did cellular molecular biology. And I enjoyed doing it for a while, but I just had my bachelor's in it. I didn't have like a master's or a doctorate in it. But yeah, I'm very happy with where I'm at now. I'm glad I chose the career path.
I'm happy where you're at now too.
Nice. But maybe I could have worked with Watson. I could have played my own twin. I could have been my own twin like Lindsay Lohan. Wait, I had the cast list up. I'm still just trying to figure out who Moriarty is. I'm so sorry. I feel like he should be higher up on the list. No. I'll look it up later. Okay. So clearly this is a deviation from our usual type of show we watch because there wasn't really a lot of forensics. There were no morgue scenes. And so
yeah, I was I knew there weren't going to be morgue scenes, but I was still hoping there was something.
Could have made Watson a pathologist. No, I guess I wonder if Morris Chestnut was like, listen.
It's been there, done that.
Listen, you got to give me something else. Make me a different doctor this time. But we thought we'd talk a little bit about the origins of Sherlock Holmes. And just a fun tidbit, I was watching this with my fiance, Costa. And in the beginning, we both gasped. I gasped because it looked like Twilight. He gasped because...
So very different reasons.
Because he's a big fan of Sherlock Holmes. He's read the works of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. And this is actually how Sherlock finds his demise in the books, is like chasing Moriarty and like falling down a waterfall. Or something along those lines. Because we were both like, oh my God. Like, and I was like, wait, why are you gasping? I was like, I know why I'm excited, but why are you excited? Are you also excited for Twilight? And he's like, no, this actually happens in the books. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's not a connection I made. That's pretty cool.
I mean, this kind of does have like something to relate back to our podcast because like he really is almost like the father of forensics, even though he's a fictional character.
Yeah. So Sherlock Holmes is a fictional detective, in case you didn't know, created by British author Arthur Conan Doyle. So referring to himself as a consulting detective in his stories, Holmes is known for being proficient with his observations, his deductive reasoning, and forensic science, and logical reasoning that borders on the fantastic, which he employs while investigating cases of a wide variety of clients, including Scotland Yard, which they also reference in the episode. He has Watson has a connection with somebody at Scotland Yard. And even the doctors are like, why are you just casually texting people at Scotland Yard about this case? Like, I don't understand.
They don't get it.
They don't get it. And oh my God, wait, though. So Rosewood, the character Rosewood, we always talk about his fun little car that he's driving around in. There was another fun little car in this one that I was confused about. I was trying to figure out where they were. So Shinwell drives him around, what I'm assuming is Pittsburgh. But he's driving in a car where the driver is on the right side of the car. I was like, are they where are they? Because they keep saying
They're
they're
like a British car that they
it was a British
imported
car.
over?
It was like a car from the UK. He was driving it, like, because they show the scene of the car moving, and I was like, oh, he's driving a fun little car. And then I was like, oh, wait, Watson's not driving. Shinwell's driving on the right side of the car, or like on the other side. I was like, where are we? I was so confused.
They just had to throw like all of the Britishness into this.
Yeah.
To tie you back that this is a Sherlock Holmes story.
Yeah. But anyway, fun connection between Morris Chestnut's characters. Fun little cars. Fun little cars, fun little gadgets. So the character Sherlock Holmes first appeared in print in 1887, A Study in Scarlet. His popularity became widespread with the first series of short stories in the Strand magazine, beginning with A Scandal in Bohemia in 1891. Additional tales appeared from then until 1927, eventually totaling 4 novels and 56 short stories. All but one are set in Victoria or Edwardian eras between 1880 and 1914. Most are narrated by the character of Holmes's friend and biographer, Dr. John H. Watson, who usually accompanies Holmes during his investigations and often shares quarters with him at the address 221B Baker Street, London, where many of the stories begin. Did you ever watch Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch?
I was just going to ask, out of all of the versions of Sherlock, what's your favorite? Because that one's my favorite.
I feel like I haven't. Well, there was the Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr. Did you ever see that? And Jude Law as Watson. Favorite. That's his favorite Sherlock?
We actually rewatched that maybe a few weeks ago.
That one, I remember liking that. I haven't watched it in so long, though. I feel like the one that stuck with me the most was Sherlock, the BBC
with
Sherlock.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
With Benedict Cumberbatch and, oh my God, Martin Freeman?
Yeah, Martin Freeman.
As Watson. That one was good. And I binged that. I got into that so late, too. Like, it was like, nobody was talking about it anymore. And I'm like, you know what? Let me watch this show. And then I was like obsessed with it. And everybody's like, where have you been?
I feel like every time it kind of like a fad or like this comes through, or like people are like really obsessed with it, and then it fades out, they're like, no, we got to bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's what they're doing with Watson.
Yeah.
And they had the show Elementary.
Yes.
With
Lucy Liu.
With Lucy Liu. And that was probably like early 2000s, I want to say. Like maybe 2010s.
More recent.
Maybe it's more 2010s-ish.
Let me look that up.
Like late 2010s. But I don't know like how well that did. I never watched it.
2012.
Yeah.
Why do I think it was even more recent than that? It is a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes, though. That show.
Maybe it is a good show, but it got canceled, obviously. And then they took some years off, and they're like, we gotta bring it back.
We gotta do more Sherlock. There's so many
more
different
Sherlock.
variations of Sherlock. Even House is an inspiration. That's why his name is House instead of Holmes. Get it? Like House.
I never knew that.
Yeah. And he's supposed to be like a medical Sherlock, kind of. I
get that.
Yeah. I think we talked about that with Eric Handberg. Because we were asking him about like
we did.
And he mentioned that and it like blew my mind. Yeah. And even when I was watching this with Costa, he was like, this kind of gives me House vibes because Costa enjoys House. And I was like, yeah, I can see that.
All the deductive reasoning and observation.
Yeah. Except instead of being like a medical Sherlock, it's medical Watson, who is a doctor. So back to the history of Sherlock. Though not the first fictional detective, Sherlock Holmes is probably the best known. Everybody knows Sherlock. Everybody is still making stories about Sherlock, clearly, in popular media. Yeah, he's definitely the best known. So by the 1990s, over 25,000 stage adaptations, films, TV productions, and publications had featured the detective, and Guinness World Records lists him as the most portrayed human literary character in film and television history.
Wow.
I want to just get a list of like all the people who have played Sherlock Holmes, like, or different iterations.
I'm going to Google that after.
Yeah. Holmes' popularity and fame are such that many have believed him to maybe not be fictional, but an actual individual. Numerous literary and fan societies have been founded on this pretense, thinking that Sherlock was actually real. Avid readers of the Holmes stories helped create a modern practice of fandom. I'm part of many fandoms, so I'm a big fan of fandoms. I'm a fandom fan. So the character in the stories have had a profound and lasting impact on the mystery writing and popular culture as a whole, with the original tales as well as other stories written by author Conan Doyle being adapted to the stage or radio, plays, television, films, even video games and other media for over 100 years, which is kind of wild when you think about it.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
So Edgar Allan Poe's C. Augustin Dupin is also generally acknowledged as the first detective in fiction.
He does. He's a few short stories. Murder of Rue Morgue is one of the ones that I've read. That he's like the detective.
Oh.
And they reference him in Fall of the House of Usher. Except he's an attorney in that, trying to get to the bottom of the case. Yeah.
So this served as the prototype for many later characters, including Holmes. And Conan Doyle once wrote, quote, "Each of Poe's detective stories is a root from which a whole literature has developed, where the detective story until Poe breathed the breath of life into it." Similarly, the stories of, oh my gosh, this is a very French name that I'm going to butcher. Emily Gouillard's Monsieur Lecour. Were extremely popular at the time Conan Doyle began writing Holmes, and Holmes's speeches and behavior sometimes follow those of that individual. Doyle has many characters. Has his many characters discuss these literary anecdotes near the beginning of A Study in Scarlet, which is set soon after Watson is introduced to Holmes. Watson attempts to compliment Holmes by comparing him to Dupin, to which Holmes replies that he found Dupin to be, quote, "a very inferior fellow," and Lacroix to be a miserable bungler.
Damn.
Burn.
What a burn. What a sick burn with Sherlock.
Did you hear that?
I'm gonna start calling people miserable bunglers now.
So Conan Doyle repeatedly said that Holmes was inspired by a real-life figure of Joseph Bell, a surgeon at the Royal Infirmary of Edinburgh, whom Conan Doyle met in 1877 and had worked for as a clerk. Like Holmes, Bell was noted for drawing broad conclusions from minute observations. However, minute observations. However, he later wrote to Conan Doyle, quote, you are yourself Sherlock Holmes, and well you know it." Sir Henry Littlejohn, chair of... Sorry, that's such a funny name.
I was waiting for you to say something. Henry Littlejohn. Are you thinking Little John like Robin Hood, or are you thinking Lil Jon, the rapper? What is making you laugh? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just picturing like a miniature man.
Picturing a literal Little John. This dude named John, here he is. Super tiny.
Anyway, this man, he was very well known. He was the chair of medical, oh my god,
jurisprudence.
So big words.
He was the chair of medical jurisprudence at the University of Edinburgh Medical School. Little John, everybody. Little John was the chair of medical jurisprudence at the University of Edinburgh. Write that down.
So good. Yeah. Don't you forget it.
Don't you forget it. Don't you forget Little John.
He is also cited as an inspiration for Holmes. So Little John, who was all of this title, he provided Conan Doyle with a link between medical investigation and the detection of crime. Other possible inspirations have been proposed, though never acknowledged by Doyle, such as Maximilian Heller by French author Henry Colvin. In this 1871 novel, 16 years before the first appearance of Sherlock Holmes, Henry Colvin imagined a depressed, antisocial, opium-smoking, polymath detective operating in Paris. And it's not known if Conan Doyle ever read that novel, but he was fluent in French.
That guy sounds like a good time. Depressed, antisocial, opium-smoking detective. Where's the show about him? Where's the show?
Where's his recognition?
Where's the show about Maximilian Heller? Let me know.
What a name.
What a name. Little John. What a name. Also, speaking of names, I figured it out. Randall Park is the actor who played Moriarty. He's very funny. He's in the Marvel universe. Oh my God, I forgot his character's name in the Marvel universe, but he pops up in WandaVision and Ant-Man a lot.
He was Asian Jim.
He was Jim. I almost said that. Jim Halpert, who we also referenced at the beginning of this episode without even clocking it, probably subconsciously. He was. I think Kos and I both
secretly
popped
Sherlock
up.
Holmes.
Yeah. Kos and I both like popped up at that part too. We're like, oh my God, it's Jim. It's Jim Halpert.
Jim Halpert, look at him.
Look at him.
He's doing so good.
He's doing so good. He's on the funicular.
He's in Pittsburgh. He's still in PA.
He went from Scranton to Pittsburgh. Love that for him.
I just feel like there's so much that you can do with Sherlock, and like there's like so many like iterations that have been done, and it still feels new.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's definitely, people take it and twist it in like, oh, what if we did Sherlock in modern day, which is like the basis of the show Sherlock. This, I think this is an interesting twist on it.
Also that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting now that Watson's the main character, kind of, instead of like it's picking up where Sherlock's story left off. But man, I enjoyed it. I might watch some more of it. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I'm down.
I still think I like Rosewood. I just love Rosewood.
Even though he did have some really cool gadgets, and he was like, we have the highest tech lab in the country.
But he couldn't get another centrifuge. Dr. Lubach was like, can we get another centrifuge? And he's like, no, we're the best lab in the country. And she's like, please, give me a centrifuge. He's got all these other gadgets, and she just wants the most basic.
Science.
She just wants the most basic one. Just give me a centrifuge. That's all I'm asking.
I'm just trying to do my science, and he's not letting me do my science.
Just let me do my science. So, yeah, we don't really have red flags or green flags because there wasn't really forensic stuff going on. Just use, if you're going to handle dead birds, use gloves.
Maybe wear gloves.
Wear gloves. Yeah, if your cat brings home a dead bird, just throw on some gloves when you throw it away. Or just don't barehand it, for
Just
sure.
don't even touch it. Kick it.
Just telling us to kick dead birds.
Poke it with a stick.
Poke it with a don't do any of that. It's just...
Sorry, it's Friday night that we're recording, and I'm just like super delusional.
Yeah. Just I had a long week at work. I had a long day at work.
It was a long day.
Yeah.
But anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode of Inside the Morgue, even though it was a little different than what we normally do. But we just wanted to like keep you guys on your toes and do the unexpected.
Yeah. If you have any other shows that you want us to get into, or if you have a favorite iteration of Sherlock that we didn't mention, let us know in the comments. Yeah, DM us. I would love to watch more, especially if there's a more like forensically inclined Sherlock that you see out there. Let me know. Yeah.
But yeah, you guys can find us on Instagram. You can email us, DM us, any show suggestions that you have. We're open to literally any suggestion.
Yeah. Yeah, we're at Inside the Morgue Pod on Instagram. We're also on YouTube now. We have our own YouTube page, Inside the Morgue. So check us out there, subscribe. And also
find us on TikTok.
Yeah, add us on TikTok. That's right, we have a TikTok now. We gotta make fun TikToks. Yeah, add us on TikTok. Are we at Inside the Morgue Pod or just Inside the Morgue?
I think it's... Give me 1 second.
And while she's looking that up, you should also subscribe and follow all the Young Junk stuff. They got a lot of fun podcasts going on here, including Cult Pop, which I'm also on Wednesday nights live. Live at 8 p.m.
Inside the Morgue Pod on TikTok.
Yeah, Inside the Morgue
Pod. Check us out.
Yeah, check us out there.
All right, and we will see you guys with a brand new dissection next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Young Junk!